So you're getting ready to install Java and start doing some Java programming. Well, to do that, we need to install the actual JDK or Java Development Kit, as well as an integrated development environment. You don't necessarily need the IDE, but it really makes your life a lot easier. You could program with the simple text editor, but trust me, it looks a lot better. So let's get started with the 2 steps. We'll do the download for both things, which will be the Java Development Kit as well as the IDE. So we'll do that with good old Safari. And let's start off by looking for the OpenJDK 18. And there it is right there. Clearly I've been here before. And the version that we're going to get for your Mac computer is the macOS X64. So we'll just click on the tar-GZ for that. DZ for that. Am I American or Canadian? So you'll notice through this whole session that Mac will be confirming a lot of things to make sure that there's no security breaches. So this is sort of, if you will, one of them. Indicating that we're making a change here of how the download goes. I've already gone ahead and downloaded everything that we need, and they've already gone into the downloads folder, and I assume that's probably where all your downloads will go as well. So you'd click on allow here and then let the download actually proceed. But I'm going to cancel because I've already downloaded it. So we've grabbed the OpenJDK installer. The next thing we need to do is download Geany. And Geany is going to be our IDE, or integrated development environment. Geany is ridiculously flexible and powerful. It is a very, very good integrated development environment, not just for Java, but for 50 plus other languages and other file formats. So it's really, really, really powerful. So all we're going to do is then download the macOS of the main module up here at the top, OS X-4. Not the ARM one, that's for ARM processors, but this is for your regular Mac laptops and Mac computers. So we'd click on that, and again, the same thing. If it asks you to allow, then by all means, permit the change to allow. But as I said, I've already downloaded everything we need. So we've gone ahead and grabbed everything that we need, and we're ready to do the installation. And we'll do that by opening up our folder. So I'm going to quit Safari completely, look at Finder, and go to our Downloads folder. And I should have the 2 files right there. So we've got the Geany downloader as well as the OpenJDK. So we're going to install them in 2 different ways. So the OpenJDK is going to get installed manually. Really all we need to do is just extract it from the archive and then just move it to the right spot. We're not actually installing it. We're just sort of moving files around. But then Geany actually requires not a full installer, but it's got a different step. So let's go ahead and install OpenJDK really quick. It's a really, really nice, simple process. So what we'll do is go over to our utilities, and we'll open up a terminal session. So we'll go over here and we'll double click on terminal. So here's our terminal session. So to see if we've got any Java versions installed, easiest way to do it is just type ls/library/java/Java virtual machines. If I could type in Java properly, there we go. And it's empty. That means that there are no Java environments on this computer. If you type this command in and you saw a few Java environments, it really probably could work with installing Java OpenJDK 18, but really the best thing to do is remove the ones in there. And I've got another video, it's only about 4 or 5 minutes long, and it shows you how to remove all your Java development kits that you might have. So in this case though, we're ready to go. We're all good to go. If we go back over here to our folder view, I'm going to look at my downloads again. You'll notice I've got OpenJDK, that's what we need to use. Well, if I do an ls here, a listing command, what I've got is desktop, downloads, movies, pictures, and so on. Well, those sort of correspond to these over here. Well, the regular folder view is really just another way of looking at the files versus what we call the command line view. So what I'm going to do is go into my downloads and then do a listing long format. And you can see I've got my Geany and OpenJDK. This exactly matches these two files here. So really, all I'm doing is what I could probably do with a folder view. I'm just doing it a lot faster by just typing in the commands. And this is a much better way to do the various checks that we need to do. So we know there's no Java. What's the step to install or at least copy the files? First thing we're going to do is extract all the contents from OpenJDK. Now I didn't type all that. I just typed the word open and then hit tab on the keyboard, and the rest of the characters got filled in automatically. Saves me from having to make any typing mistakes. I'll press enter, and nothing will appear in the command line window when it's finished. But if you look over here to the folder view, I've got a brand new folder called JDK. So if I do a listing dash long as well, you can see there it is right there. So this is the folder that we need to move in to this location. So we just need to tell Mac, hey, you've got a brand new Java development kit. So a brand new Java environment. To do that, we'll first start off with the sudo command. Because we're actually moving files into the operating system secured area, it's part of where the computer actually runs, it needs to be verified. So sudo stands for substitute user do, I guess, do a command. So the command will be move. We're going to move the JDK, that folder, we're going to move it to, well, the folder that we tried to look at up above, Java Virtual Machines. Now, because it's secured, as I pointed out, it's asking us for a password, so I'll type in my user password, which is just my regular password on this computer, and it's been moved over. Now, that's all we had to do, and that's it. Nothing else to install Java. To verify that we have Java installed, I'll type java-version. Takes a second or so, as this is the very first time it's run, and it's showing me that it's the OpenJDK version 18. It's a Java runtime environment, also known as a Java virtual machine. In your case, if you ran this and Mac asked you to verify the security as well, you'd probably have to hit OK and carry on. So there you go. It should be installed properly at this point. So we've got Java installed. The second thing to check really is to see if the Java compiler. There's actually two parts to Java. One is the Java virtual machine, the other one is the compiler, and this is the compiler version 18. So we're all good to go. So I can close this window. I'm all done with the command line for the moment. I'm going to close terminal completely, and now we can install Geany. So to do that, all we need to do is just double click on the Geany DMG file. So here we go. So what this is going to do is mount the DMG, which is just a package. It's, if you will, it's almost like an archive. It's a package. It's mounting it as though it's some sort of disk, like an optical disk or something like that. So there we go. It's opened up, and it's also running. I mean, Geany is not running, but the packager is running, and it's all okay. The only step that we need to do is to install Geany. This is all we have to do. We need to take the Geany app and we drag it over to applications. So there's a manual step that's required, and all we're doing is we're just moving a file over. But that's the only step. It seems simple, but that's it. That's all we got to do. So we'll just wait for the file to get copied out of the DMG into the applications folder. If you like watching progress bars, I'm here to please. On your computer, it might happen a little bit faster. I'm actually running this in a virtual computer. So I've got a Mac computer running inside of Windows. So some things take a little bit longer than they normally should. There we go, and that's it. That's all we needed to do. So I can come back over here, I can close this, And if I scroll up to the G's, you can see Geany.app. It's actually installed. So I've got everything installed. At this point, every time I wanted to run Geany, I would have to go through the Finder and click on Go and find the applications and click on the Geany app. To make life a little bit easier, why don't I just move an icon and make a shortcut or an alias on the desktop? To do that, I just grab my Geany.app, and there we go. I've created an alias. Now I've got two Geanies, but let me clarify what they are. So I'm going to close this one down. So this is the Geany, this is the actual application. So this is the Geany app. This is the packager, so the Geany 1.38. So for this one, if we right click on it and we eject it, there we go. And now I can move my regular icon over here. So the one I just ejected was actually the DMG file getting mounted. So now I've only got Geany running, which is good. And at this point, we could actually stop. You have everything you need. You've got the OpenJDK installed. You've got Geany as an IDE. Congratulations. But let's test out Geany and do some quick configurations. So to run Geany, I'm just going to double click on it. Now this is the very first time that it's run. So there is some verification. There's some security stuff. Here we go. One of those securities. Yes. Click on OK. So it's getting itself set up for the very first time. And I think we're up and running. So I'm just going to resize it temporarily. Yeah, so what I want to do, normally we would maximize Geany and have as much workspace as we could to write our Java programs, but I also want to have the folder view open. There's a couple of things I want to do in that respect, and I want to see the effect of what Geany is doing in the folder view. But really, at this point, everything's perfectly fine. So let's make some quick changes to the Geany configuration. This will make our programming life a lot easier and very helpful when it comes to writing our Java programs and debugging or figuring out what proper errors are. So what we'll do is we'll go first over to our tools and we'll take a look at our plugin manager. So for our plugins, what we want is to turn on the add-ons here, the auto close. That's something we want to have. Also go down here to extra selections. Let's turn that on. Something that's very useful, especially for very long programs, we want to be able to look at two sections of a program or possibly even more, and that is called split window. It's very useful once you get more advanced programs and you want to be able to look at different sections at exactly the same time. And the last thing, which you probably won't use right away, but if you have a need to, the tree browser. It lets you look at files and folders in a much more useful way. So we'll turn on all those plugins. Click on Close. The next thing to do is go up to Edit and go down to, or not for Finder, but for Geany, Edit and Preferences. So for here, then go over to the Editor and Indentation. Now, in this case, whenever you hit Tab on the keyboard and the cursor moves over an appropriate number of spaces, in this case 4 spaces, the question is, do we want that to be a single character, which is called a tab character, or do we want it to be actually 4 spaces? There's a big debate in computer programming if we want it to be tabs or spaces, but spaces are the consensus. And the reason is, if you're looking at your program and it's moved over, a line of code is moved over 4 spaces, if you look at it in another editor or give your code to somebody else to look at, they should also see 4 spaces. A single tab character could be 4 spaces in one program or 8 spaces in another one. So making this change is actually very, very proper. It's not just good, it's good for you. And really that's about it. So we're now ready to start programming. But because we've turned on our plugins, we've got to do one quick thing. We've got to actually get out of Geany and then get back into it. So essentially we're just turning it off and on again. So there we go, and we're ready to start programming. So first thing really what I want to do is move over to Documents, and inside Documents, I want to create a brand new folder where I'm going to store all my Java programming. So I'm going to right click here, create a brand new folder, and we'll call this one Java Programming. So here's where I'm going to store all my Java programs. So whenever I do a save or an open in Geany, I'm going to be looking at my documents and my Java programming folder. It's going to keep things organized, especially if I've got a lot of files, keeping all my Java programs in here. And I could even create subfolders and then store, for example, my first programs, or if I'm doing it for schoolwork, I've got assignment 1, assignment 2. It really keeps things organized very nicely. So let's see in Geany, we've already got one file, we've got a blank file open. What I want to do is actually close it. I'm going to close this down so that we can go through the motions of creating a brand new file. There we go. That's how we create a brand new file. Now Geany doesn't know we're actually programming in Java yet. Really has no idea. To do that, first thing we need to do is do a file save as. And here's where that folder comes in. So I'm going to click on Documents, and this is part of that security thing. For the very first time, yes, I want to allow it. We'll go into Java Programming, and now we want to give it a name. So up here in Untitled, I'm going to take that out and type in HelloWorld.java. This is what's going to tell Geany that we've actually are writing a Java program. That .java at the end, that extension, is actually what is telling Geany that we're writing a Java program. And the program is going to be called HelloWorld. HelloWorld happens to be the shortest program you can write in almost any programming language, because it literally just runs and displays something on the screen, and it verifies that everything's working. So if I click on Save, what we should see is magically over here, HelloWorld.java appears. Now there's nothing in it. It's a totally empty file. As you can see, it only is 1 byte, 1 single character. But we're now ready to go. So let's type in the Hello World program. I'm going to start off with a comment, which is just to tell somebody looking at this code, this is my very first Java program. So comments are completely ignored by Java. They're intended only for users, or not users, sorry, other programmers or anyone looking at the code to understand what code does. You can put comments anywhere. But really, they're just intended for people to see, not for Java or the computer. But my very first line of code is going to be public class hello world. And you'll notice that the upper lowercase is exactly the same as my file name. That's something very specific to Java. It wants to make sure that they're identical to each other. It's just a rule. Don't worry about it. All right, now I'm going to start off by putting in a brace. Now you'll notice it put in the closing brace as well. All I did was type in the opening one. And that's one of those plugins. It makes sure that you've got them in there. Now there's no reason to delete the second one. All you need to do is press enter in the middle, and you'll notice it separated them, but it also indented your code. That's that 4 spaces I was talking about. It's indented 4 spaces. So here, put in the next line of code, public static void main string args. That is the beginning of the main method. So the public class hello world is really the beginning of the program, if you want to think about it, but public static void main is the beginning of the main method. It's where the main part of the program runs. So here I'm going to include my single statement. So I'll put another opening close brace set, and here's the command. System.out.println hello world. So this will display the string hello world. And you'll notice everything is color coded. And the reason for the syntax coloring or the code coloring is to really make the program easy to look at. So you can see what is an identifier, which is a name that you came up with, like hello world, what is a Java syntax statement, what is common syntax, like systemout.println, what is a string. It also looks very fun. And some people actually say it looks delicious, as all these colors seem to be colors of lollipops and gummy bears. Fine. As far as we're concerned, this program is done. I think there's no errors in it, but we'll let the compiler figure that out. Now you'll also notice that the file name up here is in red. That means it hasn't been saved yet. To save it,
you click on File and Save. If you had more than one file open and you can see all of them, you could click click on Save All. But here now it's become black, so we know it's been saved. Let me just do one quick edit. I'll take out the semicolon and put it back in. So now it's red again because the file's been edited. It's just to show you that now at the step of trying to do a compilation, where we're going to actually take the program from a .java file and convert it to an executable .class. When Java runs programs, it's the .class version of the program, not the Java file that actually gets run. But whenever you try and do a compile in Geany, it automatically saves the file. So you don't have to worry about, oh, I forgot to save my file when I was trying to do a compile. But it's always a good idea to do a save, and I think in here you could hit Command S to save, and especially if you're typing for a very long time. In the compile, you don't want to trust it to be the one to do the saves for you. Also, you never know, after typing for 10, 15 minutes, and Geany crashes, or the computer crashes, and you lose all your stuff. So it's always good to save. So how do you compile in Geany? Well, there's a button right here at the top. It's like two arrows sort of doing a circle dance. And what it means is it's going to translate from one to the other. That's why it's like two circular arrows. It's going to translate from the .java file to the executable .class. So I'm just going to hit this button. And what we should see at the very bottom, there we go. Compilation successful. So it means our program properly got translated, and now you can see over in our folder view we had the original .class file or the original .java file, and now we have a class file. So we're ready to actually run our program for the very first time. So to run our program in Geany, we click on this button here. It's like two gears, so you can think about it like a mechanism actually starting up. So that's our run. So all we do is we click on that button. And what Geany does whenever it runs a program is it actually brings up a terminal window. And this is the very first time it's doing it. So again, yes, by all means, Geany. And yeah, that's permitted for you. So how do we know our program is actually run? Well, here's the output. The first line above there, the Mac whatever, and the last login, that's just information of bringing up the terminal window. So the first two lines have nothing to do with your program. But that line right there, hello world, that's the output from your program. And then the rest of this is just the terminal saying, I'm finished executing this program. So really, it's just this single line of output. That's your program. Congratulations. So to stop this, as it says, press return to continue. Press return, and the terminal session is now complete. So it says process completed. So let me close that, because now that's what I have to do. But that's a little tedious. So how do we fix that so that all we need to do is just press enter and then return back to Geany for editing? So let me run this program one more time. It'll come up with another window, and we've got hello world showing up there. Again, hello world. What you need to do is go into terminal and then preferences. And right now I'm using the basic profile. So if I click on the general tab, you'll see that whenever we open up a terminal session, it's using the basic profile. You can choose any one of these profiles to be, you can choose whatever color scheme you like, but I'm using the basic one. But for whichever profile you're using, click on the shell command, and when the shell exits, what do you want it to do? Currently, when a terminal window closes, it doesn't close the actual window. You have to manually close it. Well, what you should do is select the middle one. Close if the shell exited cleanly. Or you could close the window. Either way. I like the middle one. It's an extra piece of security. In case something went wrong in the program, I want to see what the error message was. The first one, close the window, could display the error message, but it would close it immediately. This way, at least, I would see what the error was. But now, if I just close that, it's actually saved. I'm going to close this terminal window again. So I'm going to terminate it manually. But now if I run my program, press any key to continue, or press return to continue, I press return, and the window disappears. I don't have to manually close it. So there you go. As far as you're concerned right now, you have a complete environment running.
You've installed Java and it's running properly. You've installed Geany. You can run your programs. You can edit and so on. So the last thing I'll show you is what happens if there's errors. So I'm going to introduce two errors. I'm going to take out the semicolon here, and I'm going to change the word from static to, if I could actually reach up to it, take out the word static and just call it stati. So now I'm going to try and do a compile, and we should get two errors. And there's our two errors. So just to get familiar with finding your errors, if you click on it, what you should see is up at the top these two, like they're red-lined areas. So these are indicating where your errors are. But really the most important part is down here. You can see where it says Java:5. So HelloWorld.java:5. Well, that means on line 5 there's an error. And it's sort of indicating with that caret symbol that the error is around here. You go, oh yes, quite right. That should be a C. So let me do one more compile. Not going to fix the second error. I'm going to do another compile. And now we've got the other error. We could have fixed both at the same time, but I wanted you to see the process of sort of going through and fixing your errors. You don't have to fix them all at the same time. You can sort of see if you made the change, did that fix the problem? So I'll put a semicolon. Clearly it's indicating it's a semicolon problem. And now we'll compile just fine. We'll do one more run. And there we go. Now I'll press enter and it's done. So congratulations. We're all done. I hope you have fun programming in Java. And that's all I'll say.